Remember when you were young and everything in life seemed so much more fun and the possibilities seemed endless? Is that still the same for you, or has life become a serious business? Wherever you are, you can change it. What if more magic, fun, and possibilities were available to you right here, right now? Join Laura and Alun in the playground of possibility as they play, laugh, and explore new ways you can use to make your life more fun and to create more of what you desire.
Hello everybody and welcome to Playground of Possibilities. This is Alan Jones and my gorgeous and amazingly wonderful, magical Laura Borland co-host. Yay!
Hello.
That's a nice trumpet there. Oh, too many lines. Nope, gotta shut up.
Yep, don't go there.
Let's get back to the space. So Laura, gorgeous Laura Borland, tell us, what are we doing today?
So today's show is completely flashing in and out as I'm looking at it. Oh dear. I'm like, oh god, it's like my computer's doing magic things. Thank you, computer. So it's all about feeling spacey. And so what we did in the write-up was, have you ever noticed when you feel spacey that people have a tendency to tell you that you're wrong? And how often do people tell you you're not grounded enough if you're feeling spacey? How dense and solid do you have to be to make the words are all like messed up. Okay, Flora. How dense and solid have you decided you need to make yourself in order to be grounded? What if you can be grounded and spacey simultaneously? Indeed, what does grounded even mean for you? What if it can mean just being present? Whether you're grounded or not can change. I think all the words have all mixed themselves up.
So whether or not can you change, whether you're grounded or not, can you change more in your life when you're feeling dense or when you're feeling spacey? And what if space is the place where the real magic takes place? Yeah, I thought that was really rhyming when I wrote that. What if space is the place where
the real magic takes place? Yeah, you kind of want to sing it, don't you?
What if space is the place where magic takes place? See, it could be a #1 hit. What do you reckon? Let's get creative with spacey singing. What? No?
What, have we given up the comedy? Now we're, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, don't give up my day job.
Can I just say that it's so funny because today, there's a lovely thing where the energy of the radio show really plays with us, and so it's like and the week where we're doing about being stuck, it's just like it's so funny because I got my technology so stuck, and today's show's about being spacey, and I've just had a crazy day where I've been like running about, and I'm like, honestly, my bum's just hit the seat, and I'm like, what are we doing? I just think I hope to feel the contrast as we're having our show.
Well, let's do that. Let's take a rain check. Not a rain check. Let's take a check now and see where you're at the end of the show. What can we be? So, before we start talking about space, let's talk about the space that Laura and I are. We are, surprisingly, both certified coaches, certified space, energy, space and consciousness, gorgeousness beings, and we coach people all the time in terms of creating from space. So if that's something that you would be interested in, you can check out Laura's website at www.lauraborland.com, or my own website, which is, it's not www at all, it's Alun, ALUN-Jones.com. So go and have a look at that if you want some help being the space that you truly be. So,
can I just ask you a question? The question is, I was thinking that for anybody who, you were talking about coaching and creating from space. It's like, for many, many people, if you'd said that to me a couple of years... Yeah, exactly. I would have had no idea what you were talking about. And so I wonder if you just would like to say a little bit about kind of like what that means.
No.
Well, thank you for being so helpful, playmate. That's like, give me a shot. No.
Nope, not going to play. So, okay, so let me tell you what space is for me. So, it's actually in some ways quite difficult to put into words. So I'm going to ask a question in my head around kind of what's the best metaphor I can use to help get this across. But so let me give you a contrast. When we try to create from density, it's like we are trying to get in all the information that we possibly can and sift through it and make the best choice from all of that information. And we can only make a choice when we've got all the information, but we never seem to have all the information that we need, so we can never make a choice. And therefore, we just keep creating more and more density and crap and more information that we can't seem to wade through. That just kind of, as I talk about that just kind of really contracts my whole. It just makes you feel, oh my god, I don't have enough information to make the right choice. So for me,
it's really
sorry, go.
heady. No,
yeah.
So when you're saying that, it makes me feel like it's It makes me feel like it's really, really heady.
Yes,
if that makes sense. I have some visitors.
That's cool. Hello, visitors, and welcome to the space that we be. So when I'm creating from space, here we go. So when I'm creating from not space, I'm creating from conclusion. When I'm creating from space, it's when I'm willing to ask a question.
Yes.
So because when you try to create from conclusion, all you're doing is looking at what currently is and creating from that. Whereas when you create from space, you're looking at what else might be possible. You're asking a question in terms of what else is available that I haven't even considered. And
it's much more from a space of energy in terms of our whole being than just kind of like, I'm thinking back to many, many years ago when I first began coaching. I really was doing head coaching. It was like, if you do this, then that. It wasn't necessarily looking at the energy I was being behind the action.
Yes. Very cause and effect, isn't it? It's like, if I have the right recipe, if I have the right guide or procedural manual, which is really interesting, because Carol Glover did a show the other week about procedural manuals, which was just brilliant. And it's like we're constantly looking for these how-to guides or magical recipes or whatever it is on step-by-step guides on how to create a marvelous business or have ease with money. And it's like, well, you can't really do that because it's different for everyone. So when you get into, you're willing to ask a question and say, what works for me? And so going back to the write-up, we were talking about kind of this thing around, if you're feeling spacey, you're ungrounded, and therefore you can't change anything in your life. And I know, we had a conversation about this, about what grounded really meant. And for me, grounded has so many, it still kind of has some charge around so many negative things for being grounded. And of course, to be grounded, it means you have to be solid, you have to be kind of physical, and when I'm not in space, I'm making everything really solid and dense so that it's tangible.
That's really interesting that you're saying that, because for me, grounded very much around, I see me when I'm grounded as being connected to the infinite beingness that I am. And which is real, and which I just show, I guess, is like that whole thing about the magic of kind of like we all create our own reality.
Yes, absolutely. So it'd be interesting actually, while we're talking, if anyone's in the chat room, or if anyone would like to come to the chat room and just tell us, what's your experience of being space, feeling space, being grounded, not being grounded, density, all of that stuff. Come and share your thoughts in the chat room, a2zen.fm. And, because it's through questions that we can create more space for ourselves and for everyone else. But that whole thing around creating from space is, if you've got bookshelves full, if you've got a room full of junk or stuff, let's say you've got a room full of stuff and you want to create something from that, do you start creating with the first things you find, or do you try and clear everything out so that you can see what's there?
Funny, because actually what instantly jumps into my head is like sometimes either or. I think it depends, kind of like it's not making one way right or another way wrong. I think it's just kind of like it's just about whatever works in that moment. And sometimes actually a flash of inspiration is seen, like the first thing, and having an idea around that. So for me, it's not about making that wrong. But also kind of like the analogy with your head. It's like, when Eleanor saying no room for possibility when I'm head creating, and it's hard. It's so hard when we're head creating. It's so hard.
Because try to think everything through. we're trying to logically follow. So that's the other thing for me. Creating from space is not necessarily creating from logic. It's creating from following the energy, which is, and we can talk about this because I know we've got a break in about 5 minutes. But let's see what we can get done before that. But yeah, it's like when you follow the energy of, or the lightness of what feels fun for you, whether or not it seems logical, that for me is creating from space.
Absolutely. And I guess it's like we're really not taught how to create from space, because I was working with somebody last week, and a very, very, very bright person, and it's super intelligent and really caught up in their thinking, but actually it's like from their point of view, they've never considered another possibility that you could create from a different space, even although they have really strong intuition. But it's almost like that thing, it's like that's what we're taught to try hard, we're taught to like really think it through, we're taught to kind of like be logical, and it's like it's just
It's funny you should say that, because literally as you were saying that, I wrote down the words "think things through." I remember my mother just, when she asked me, why I had done something that actually, from her point of view, created a problem, and she's saying, "It's just your effing problem, you don't think things through, you never think before you act," which was really, from her perspective, that was a really bad and wrong thing, where I was, and what ended up happening is that the situation would always be resolved even better than what had been created. But because she was too caught up in, oh my God, this is a disaster, and you didn't think things through, she made me wrong for following the energy of it.
And it's like so funny, and it's like there's some chat, Christine saying, "Oh my God, I had that said to me a lot," and actually me too. And it's like that thing where we begin to kind of like it's. And in all fairness, it's like I've made some crazy choices in the heat of the moment as well. It's like, but I think because again, it's not, because I think that's the thing. It's like it's about not asking that question, like what would create the most here. It's like And so sometimes it's like, so for me, I remember I went through this phase of like employing crap staff in this job that I had, and I was getting really frustrated, and I decided that it's like if they were the right staff today, they would be the right staff tomorrow. And
right.
It's really interesting, just giving myself a little bit of breathing space sometimes changed my point of view, and sometimes it's like, or it kind of like just reinforced it, and I was like, no, absolutely. And that really worked for me, because sometimes I can get excited about something in a minute, and then 10 minutes later I'm like not so excited by it.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's because we, one of the access consciousness things is about creating in 10-second increments and choosing in 10-second increments. And we've been brought up in this reality where you made your bed, therefore you must lie on it. And therefore, when you're creating, you've made a choice, and therefore you have to see it through. Whereas if you follow that every choice is only kind of valid for 10 seconds. Me too, Christine. I used to get really in trouble for that. So Christine's in the chat room saying that she peed the bed. Yeah, absolutely, me too. And that was just, anyway, we can talk about that another time. Let me talk about my childhood and the dreadful childhood I had. But where was I? What was I saying? Who am I? Where's my handbag? Oh, there it is.
That's just too funny. I have no idea, because like actually it's like you've introduced too many like shiny like bright things there for me. But what I did think when you said that is I was like thinking you often use the phrase "you've made your bed, now you've got to lie in it," and I'm thinking that was obviously something that was really said to you a whole bunch.
Oh God, absolutely! You've made your bed, therefore you must lie on it, and I quite like that now, because I come up with an answer which just makes me laugh, which is I don't have to lie on that bed. I can choose something different.
Absolutely.
I'd rather go and sleep on somebody else's bed, as long as they're in it with me, of course. That's that's a whole other story.
It depends who it is, darling. Hello.
That's true. Needs a very different frontal arrangement.
So space.
Yes. So so that whole thing around when you're creating from space, you're creating from the point of view that it's not you've made your bed and you must lie on it. It's like I'm choosing and I'm creating from 10-second increments. So you know what you were saying around this feels good for me in this 10 seconds, and then actually because choice creates awareness. Something else they say in Access Consciousness, which is choice creates awareness. When you make a choice, you get the awareness of what that's going to create.
That took me ages to get that. I don't know about you, but it's like that I thing about choice creates awareness, and so actually I sometimes thought it meant I had to follow through and do it. But then that was almost like a conclusionary universe, whereas the choice creates the awareness, just like actually, so choose it, get the awareness, and then it's like, choose from that space again.
Absolutely. So why don't we pick that up after the break and talk about and play with that, and give people just a bit more an idea about how that can work. So yes, I will shut up and we'll go to break and we'll pick it up after these.
Were you told as a child to grow up, act your age, and stop being childish? And were you made to feel wrong for choosing to have fun? Is that still the same for you now that you're an adult? Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if you created it with more fun, more ease, and in the knowledge that far more choices and possibilities are always available to you? Tune in to the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alun Jones, who have fun playing with tools, techniques, and ideas that will inspire you to create more fun, more possibilities, and more magic in your life. Do you want to play? Listen for the Playground of Possibilities radio show every Monday at 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 7 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that, when run, assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bars session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
This is the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alun Jones. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. In the UK, 4433-0001-0625. Or Skype us at A2Zen.fm. You can also email us questions or comments by sending emails to playgroundofpossibilities@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Hello, welcome back to the Playground of Possibilities with myself, Laura Borland, and my very lovely playmate, Alun Jones.
Hello, welcome. Sorry, I was just reading a comment by Eleanor, which really relates to what we're going to talk about now, which is about choice creating awareness. Did you see that question there, Laura?
Yeah, what would it take to choose without actually doing it? Yeah, I mean, it's like, honestly, yeah, I guess I was really cute, because it's just like, I think it's like when we talk about choosing something, it's like before, like I had heard of Access, I guess it's like, for me, choosing it was about doing it. And so I really, excuse me, the idea that it's like to choose it without actually doing it, but just getting the energy, yeah, it took me ages.
So let's say I'm stupid and not quite understanding that. So what does, for you, get the energy of it mean for you?
So for me, what that means is, so for instance, so I moved yesterday. I moved into a gorgeous new space. But when it came up, it's just like that, to ask a question, it's like, what will my life be like in 5 years' time if I choose this? Whereas in the past, choosing it would have to have been to go and live there and then find out whether it was crap or awesome or whatever it was, or what it was going to create. And so I think for me, it's just like a thing where for me, it comes back to that light and heavy thing. But for me, the other thing about the light and heavy thing is, so if I ask a question and it feels heavy, again, for me, what that means is, it doesn't necessarily mean that's not true for me. What it means is ask more questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And how often do people do that? They go with it, oh no, that feels heavy for me, therefore I'm not going to choose it. And carte blanche, choose not to do anything.
And almost use that, and so, from my point of view, almost use it as an excuse and a justification. Well, it doesn't feel kind of like, that doesn't feel right for me anymore, I'm not doing it. And it's like, and actually, I guess it's like, for me, I'm like, yeah, I have a different way of like looking at it. But certainly, so for me, it's like choice without actually doing it is mean to actually to fully choose it in my being, and then actually just to be aware of what comes up after that.
Absolutely, because I think the whole thing around feeling heavy when you go to choose something, one of the first questions I would ask, first of all, for me, is who does that heaviness belong to? Because, we are these infinite beings, we're not just these tiny little bodies. People often talk about, I'm a soul in a body. Well, you are infinite. You are bigger than any fucking universe. All the universes fit within within the being that we are, and more. And so when you are this infinite being, where am I going with this? Oh God, bright shiny things. Help me, Laura, where am I going?
Well, okay, really, honestly and truly, I'm like thinking, so actually, I guess it's like, we get it when we get it. And so for a long time, it's just like, I remember being at like at a 2 and 3, and, it's like, how many of you are willing to give up your what is it, your soul? And I was just like,
immortal soul.
The immortal soul. And I was like, yep, fine, done, next. And it's just like, and so I didn't get it. I was just like, why? Yeah. And so for some people, it's just like, actually, I'm just aware, kind of like, again, if like anybody who's like listening, going, that's just like a really different thought.
Where I was going with that was, whether you call it a soul, whether you call it an infinite being, we are aware of everything that happens in the world, whether we acknowledge it or not.
Absolutely.
Was kind of where I was trying to go with that. And I was on a train that just wouldn't stop, So I was on the choo-choo's train of choice that just went off at a tangent and left me on the platform. And
is that not like a brilliant analogy for what we're talking about? So sometimes it's like we make a choice, and then we keep going and keep going and keep going, and we're sort of looking at it going, why am I still here, what's happening? And it never occurs to us to just be like,
get off the fucking train.
Yeah, or just stop. Just stop.
Pull the cord.
And ask a question.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I guess it's that thing again, it's like, before I'd really learned to begin to play questions, it was like, it's that thing where it's like, the very thing that makes an acorn grow into an oak tree is the same energy that we be all the time. It's like, and, so it's almost like that question for me is kind of like taking me out of my conclusionary universe.
Yes. So, I'm not sure if Laura's still there or not, but I'm going to pick that up. So in this kind of universe where, we're making these choices, something feels heavy, what else is possible? If, you've got to cut to the point where you ask a question, what else is possible here? Who does this belong to? What am I not considering? And that for me is about choosing and creating from space. What am I choosing that actually isn't helping me? What am I choosing that's not contributing to me? Where am I going with my choices? Hello, you're back. Hello, my darling. Can you hear us? Anyway, I shall just keep talking until...
I'm back.
You are back. I should...
No.
Oh, my choo-choo's train of choice chugging along. So, yes, and a good question from Eleanor here in the chat room. She says, what would it
Alun.
take... What? What would it take to be bigger than the heaviness? And what if the heaviness is awareness? What if heaviness is showing you either what's not true for you, or what if heaviness is, what does heaviness mean for you specifically? For me, heaviness is usually what's not true for me, or heaviness is something that perhaps won't create the most. It might contract my life. And, how often in my life I've thought that, or been told that the heaviness is the groundedness. in order to create in life, I have to feel heavy. It's like, oh my God, what have I done to my body that, what have I done to my body in terms of trying to feel grounded? Talk about stress yourself out. And, how much then do we get into judgment of our bodies? Because, if you have this, airy, fairy, flighty body, then how can you, how can you create in the world? Because, of course, you have to be dense in order to interact with people. People have to be able to see you. Is that not what you think? What do you think? Do you think people need to see you? How dense have you decided you need to make yourself in order to create in this physical reality? Because, of course, we live in this 3D reality, and unless something is physical, it's not present. Well, is that really true? Depending on, if you're listening to A to Zen, then it's quite possible that you are open to things that, may not be seen as we would normally see them. So, you might talk to, as I would call them, dead people. And if you're talking to dead people, chances are you can't see them. So are they really dense? Can you interact with them? Can you create with them? Can you create with anyone? Is that you, Laura? Maybe, maybe not. I shall just continue chatting around and see what happens. So, wrong direction. So yeah, Eleanor's saying wrong direction. Eleanor, tell us what you mean by that. So while you're kind of answering that question in the chat room, it's like, can you change more from conclusion, or can you change more from space, from questions? Because I think that's really where I was thinking around this whole show in terms of, are you feeling spacey? It does come back to, again, choice and what are you choosing? And when you're living in conclusion, you do kind of have a tendency to make everything in your life really dense, really hard going, and you're thinking things through. You're thinking about, all of the things that should happen or might happen, and you're not being present with where you are. When you're present with where you are, you're willing to ask a question about what else is possible. When you're present with where you are, you're not living in conclusion about where you are. I could quite happily sit here and say, well, I'm sitting here in my office in Blackheath, but I could be sitting here in my office in Blackheath, but my mind could be completely elsewhere. Is that being present? Is that being present with what is? In order to be able to change something, you need to be willing to acknowledge that what actually exists. Is how often do we try and create from what we hope might happen? What can happen if how often do you try to create what you hope will happen, what you think should happen, rather than be very clear about what is going on? So, if you don't know what your money situation is, how can you create a different situation? If you don't know what your health situation is, how can you create something different? So, Laura, are you back, my lovely? Can we hear you?
Yeah, and my apologies.
That's okay.
Everything just booted me in.
Well,
I'm just laughing because what else is there to do?
There's nothing you can do except just watch me kind of going in, into Beyond. So we were just talking about heaviness and how, what heaviness means to people in terms of space and choice. So why don't we go to break and then pick up after the break and talk about that more now that I've got somebody to bounce off, as it were. So let's get bouncy, and we'll see you after these adverts.
Were you told as a child to grow up, act your age, and stop being childish? And were you made to feel wrong for choosing to have fun? Is that still the same for you now that you're an adult? Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if you created it with more fun, more ease, and in the knowledge that far more choices and possibilities are always available to you? Tune in to the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alan Jones, who have fun playing with tools, techniques, and ideas that will inspire you to create more fun, more possibilities, and more magic in your life. Do you want to play? Listen for the Playground of Possibilities radio show every Monday at 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 7 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that when run assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bars session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
This is the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alan Jones. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. In the UK, 4433-0001-0625. Or Skype us at A2Zen.fm. You can also email us questions or comments by sending emails to playgroundofpossibilities@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Playground of Possibilities with myself
Hello.
and my gorgeous. hello, welcome back. So this is going to be let's just pick up this thing around heaviness, because just one thing quickly. Eleanor was saying heaviness for her means the wrong direction, and
okay.
I totally get that, Eleanor. For me, I would put that back and say to you, what if there's no wrong direction? What if the heaviness, and you've got to go with you. Don't let me kind of change. If that works for you, fantastic. For me, when I would say, it's like when I'm choosing and I'm feeling heavy, it may not necessarily be the wrong direction. It may not create the most for me.
Can I give an example?
Yeah.
So there was something that I'd been asking for ages, and then it showed up, and then I was super excited. And then it went from being, over like a couple of days, it went from being really, really light to really, really heavy. Mm-hmm. And it made no logical sense to me, because it's like I still had, I still desired to kind of like, to be going in that space. And actually, my gorgeous mum ended up being some contribution, because I was saying to her, wow, and she knows nothing about Access. It's like, and I was saying to her, wow, it's like it felt really light and now it feels really heavy. And she said to me, you can choose again, right? And I started laughing, and I thought, I felt like I had made my choice. I'd taken myself into the no-choice universe. That was why it was heavy. And had I not asked any more questions for me around that heaviness, actually, it's like it may be that I wouldn't have chosen something that is actually creating like a whole bunch of stuff for me.
That's an awesome analogy that I was hoping would come up, is this no-choice universe. And that is not creating from space. Creating from space is limitless choice. When
Absolutely.
We're not creating... Yeah, and I think, so awesome. Thank you so much for that, Laura. That's brilliant. So what I'd love to talk about is what happened prior to the break, because there for me, let's talk about creating from space. And we had some kind of technical issues with you kind of being online, and what I know I started to do was to contract. I started feeling dense. I started feeling, really contracted and totally not space at all. And I was trying to create from my head. And I was thinking, what else can I talk about? And I felt myself going into this massive beyond of no choice, which is, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do.
Okay.
Which was really, really funny. And, it's like, so I didn't ask a question. What else is possible here? And
isn't it, it's like, I just love how our radio show is like such a living, breathing contribution, like to us. I really, really do. No, honestly, because, it's like, it's so true, because it's like, I think sometimes it's really easy to say, hey, do this, ask a question and blah blah blah. But sometimes in the moment, it's just like we totally go into like, you know, when we are not feeling spacey at all, and we totally go into contraction. And it's like, and something I've learned for me is it's just like, just to learn to be kind to myself and notice when I do that and go, oh, and it's almost like as soon as, for me, as soon as I have the awareness that I'm doing it, then I can begin to choose something else.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I also want to say a big thank you to, it sounds like it's me again, I want to say a big thank you to Christine, who sent me a message during the break, so before kind of Laura went offline. And, you know, thank you so much, Christine, for that. I appreciate it, because it helped me to kind of just take a breather. And there it is. It's like when you are creating from space and being willing to ask a question of what else is possible, then, you know, it just gives you that breathing space. And of course, I forgot that I could go to break early. So Christine sent me another message going, you know, you can go to break early if you need to. I'm thinking, why didn't I? Here it goes, here it comes. Why didn't I think of that?
But you know what's also really lovely about that as well? It's just like, so everywhere that we've decided that we have to do it on our own, and it's like, you know, and so what a lovely kind of example of, like, you know, Christine just being there and being such a contribution, like, absolutely, for you. And it's like, and how often do we go into kind of like, you know, when we're trying harder, and it's like, and when we go into kind of like, you know, a beyond, or when we're not asking questions, it's like, you know, even a kindness can just be to allow ourselves to receive, like, from someone else who's almost like kind of got more space in their universe at that moment.
Absolutely right. And that does. It just kind of, it reminds me to expand out and just be willing to receive contribution. Because that's the other thing about the difference between not feeling spacey is, you know, when you're creating from space, you can receive more.
Oh my God, absolutely.
It's like, I mean, every time I was kind of making myself smaller, it's like, if you are this massive space, are people more likely to be able to see you, to contribute to you, than if you kind of make yourself really, really tiny and dense? It's like, well, everyone's going to either step on you or bump into you or not even notice you. How can they give to you? And how can you receive if you have no space to receive?
Oh, absolutely. Can I just also say, though, I'm quite gutted, because I actually thought I made quite a nice, profound point before I get booted off, or actually because I spoke for a bit and then I was like, I'm talking to myself.
So what was your lovely, amazingly profound point that you were making? Let's make it again.
I completely forget.
Were we talking about choice creating awareness?
I was just like saying, actually, I think I was saying about the universe and how just it can show you just like such amazing things. And that's really funny, because then the whole drama of what ensued after that, it has showed us some really lovely stuff, just in terms of like that difference in between kind of like feeling contracted and feeling space, like when we're creating.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, so let's play with the whole thing around creating from space, creating from questions, creating from choice, which is, okay, so what contribution can everything that's happened be today for us and for everyone who's listening? And so, you know, where I started to go into was talking about when you're present with what is, that can be space. Because when you're not willing to be present with what is, how can you change it? It's almost like you have to condense yourself down into nothing in order to make yourself unaware of what's going on around you.
But that's also, I mean, it's like it took you about, you know, I don't know, 10 seconds to say that. It took me about 6 years to get that, because how often are we in, like, you know, people would be like, you just have to be an allowance of what is, and I'd be like, what? It's like, and you know, so even, because again, you know, when we're doing it from that space of resistance and contraction and trying, because it felt to me like allowance meant that I was accepting it, so therefore it would never change, and which is just so not the case.
Isn't that such a big lie? That if I'm an allowance of something, if I'm present with something and accept it for what it is, acknowledge it for what it is, then I'm just saying that's the way it is and it can't change, which is just such a bastardization of what being present really means. Like, when you're present with it, you can change it. If you don't know what's actually happening, how the fuck can you change it?
Absolutely. Yeah. choice
absolutely.
and awareness and not doing, Laura. Yeah, absolutely, Eleanor.
So
I feel much more space.
And, so a good way to get space in your life is to get your bars run. And, for anyone who's listening who's not heard of it, Access Bars, Access Consciousness has a way of working with bodies called Access Bars, and you can find out more about that at accessconsciousness.com. And I know, and so basically you're touching 32 points on the head to release all of those thoughts, feelings, emotions and beliefs and all of that stuff that you've basically stored in your body. And that's just a brief synopsis, but where I want to go with this is that when I have my bars run, I feel such space, I feel such peace in my head, and it gives me that ability, that gives me that space to be able to ask a question. I know when I'm not creating from space. I know when I need to get my bars run, when I'm living more in conclusion and not coming from that place of what else is possible, when I can't even get there, when I'm in loads of beyonds all the time, I know I've got to get my bars run. So, if you haven't ever had your bars run, go to the accessconsciousness.com website, find a practitioner or facilitator there, go and get your bars run, because the more often you get them run, the more space you have to choose a life that works for you, really. Because, I love, when Laura came over last week to do the radio show.
Wow, that was only last week.
It was only last week, I know. And we did a bar swap as well, and it was just awesome to swap bars and do the radio show. It was just brilliant. So, yes. What would it? So Ellen is saying here, what would it take to be present without head tripping? Laura, over to you.
What would it take to be present without my head tripping? Do you know what?
Back to the studio. Sorry.
So what if you could just explore and be curious, and even as soon as I try and make myself the harder I try to
speak, the harder she tries to speak, the harder it is for her to speak. So I'm just going to pick up from that. So, are you making phenomenal points there?
I think you're doing a brilliant job, Alan, of demonstrating how to dance with the energies or the lack thereof. I just wanted to jump on and say that. There she is again.
We didn't hear any of that, my darling. Thank you so much, Christy.
Oh,
Laura,
bless.
You just made a really fantastic points again that we didn't get.
Okay, so basically, what's that about? Okay, what else is possible? So basically, what I was saying, of course I won't say it so beautifully this time, but basically what I was saying was that it's as soon as I'm tripping and I try not to head trip, it just makes me head trip more. And so for me, there's something about just beginning to get curious about it, and the curiosity kind of for me out of it, and just allowing it to be, rather than kind of thinking I must change this, and wow, how much fun am I having here, and sort of laughing at myself.
Because you're right. That thing around, oh my God, I'm head tripping. Oh my God, I'm head tripping. I don't want to head trip, but I can't stop head tripping. I'm head tripping.
Exactly.
I want to stop head tripping, but I can't. And you're beating the drum. What am I doing wrong? 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 And just okay, I'm head tripping. As there's a really brilliant thing that Glenise Hughes once said in one of her classes about when you realise you're doing that. She's this really, really powerful, potent tool. Just stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Just stop it! And that's just it. It's just stop.
And I think it's just that thing around kind of and it is, it can be, I laugh at myself now when I'm doing it, and it's and I guess it's for me it's practice. So it's just if I try never to head trip ever again, it's of course I'm going to head trip. And it's just allowing it to be, and just kind of and almost playing with whatever is in front of you.
Yeah, what would it take not to make ourselves wrong for head tripping?
Yeah.
Everything that doesn't allow that, let's just kind of release all of that.
Absolutely.
So So should we go to break and let's have another break and
I'm sure one of you muted me. I'm joking. It's a joke.
We are absolutely right. We're just doing it to see how many Beyonds we can send you. Let's go to break and we will pick up again after these adverts. See you shortly.
Awesome.
Were you told as a child to grow up, act your age, and stop being childish? And were you made to feel wrong for choosing to have fun? Is that still the same for you now that you're an adult? Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if you created it with more fun, more ease, and in the knowledge that far more choices and possibilities are always available to you? Tune in to the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alun Jones, who have fun playing with tools, techniques, and ideas that will inspire you to create more fun, more possibilities, and more magic in your life. Do you want to play? Listen for the Playground of Possibilities radio show every Monday at 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 7 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that when run assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bars session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
This is the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alun Jones. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. In the UK, 4433-0001-0625. Or Skype us at A2Zen.fm. You can also email us questions or comments by sending emails to playgroundofpossibilities@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Playground of Possibilities. Hello, Laura. We can hear you. We can hear you. Ooh, we can hear you. So before we carry on with the rest of the show, I just want to do a shameless plug for the 5-day with Glenise next week in London.
Cool.
So I'm just going to plunge on with that in case I get my legs slapped. So next week in London, the gorgeous Glenise Hughes, who was on our show about 2 weeks ago, who did a whole load of stuff around magic, which was just brilliant. Possibilities. So she's doing 5 days to change your life in London, which is bars. If you want to come and play with bars and create some more space in your head without thoughts, come and play with that. And Foundation and Level 1, which is the Access Consciousness core classes. And you can find out more about that if you go to www.glenise, which is GLENYCE.net. So yeah, come and play with Glenise. I will also be there, and you can see me too. Aren't you lucky? I'm not just a voice on the radio.
But also, you're not mentioning the fact that are you not co-hosting our class as well?
Oh no, I'm not co-hosting. Oh no.
Okay,
no,
forgive me. Forgive me for getting the terminology wrong.
I'm hosting. Yes, I'm going to be on trouble by Access Consciousness. No, I'm hosting, which means that I look after everybody while they're there, and Glenise is doing the facilitating of the class. So, which is not to say that I am no contribution, because everyone who comes to these classes is a contribution because of the questions they bring, because of the energy they be. So I'm in no way belittling myself at all. It's just a different role.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I think, for me, the biggest thing that I want to say around this whole space thing, creating from space, is space is curiosity, which, we've said before. When you're creating from space, you're creating from curiosity. When you're creating from space, you're creating from the place of not overthinking. Wow. Oh my God. Sorry. Brett Johnny, did you see that message there from Eleanor? She won
Very
$1,500 on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Wow. Go, Eleanor. Some of that,
awesome.
please, universe.
Yeah, what else is possible? How lovely. Oh, have fun with it, Eleanor.
Good for you. Yeah.
But I think you're right, is that like space is really about curiosity and play. Whereas actually, you know, when we're serious and trying and logical, it's totally from a contracted space. Yeah, you might, you know, it's like, but here's the thing, it's like, and Eleanor had said this like earlier, it's like when we're creating with our head, it's so much hard work and it's literally exhausting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Which is why I love those questions which, you know, which start with the what energy, space and consciousness can I be to have total choice? What energy, space and consciousness can I be to have more ease with ... whatever I'm dealing with?
How often, I'm just laughing, I'm thinking, I used to ask these questions and then like a nanosecond later I'd be like,
no fucking answer.
Exactly. Because I wasn't doing it from my head, right?
God, no, my God, how often do we ask a question from our head and not from the energy of being that we be? Oh my God.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That also took me about a year to get that.
Laura, I've just got it. Literally, I've been playing with this stuff for 3 years and working with people and coaching people and totally kind of thinking I'd get it until I just kind of go, oh my God, that's what I was. That's when you know you're choosing something, because oh my God.
Awesome. Who doesn't
You're
get better
such
than
a
that?
contribution. You are such a contribution. You are awesome. Thank you.
So everywhere that we've been kind of like asking questions from our head, I wonder what we could create if we truly gave that up and truly began to kind of like ask questions with a childlike wonder and curiosity of a child, and I don't know why, but a child that's never seen who's never seen sweet corn before. It's just like they pick it up and they play with it and they touch it and they smell it and then eventually they might put it in their mouth. That curiosity, I wonder what we could create if we kind of like ask questions from that space.
Yeah, what if, and absolutely, asking questions from having no point of view.
Yeah.
So Eleanor's saying, don't think I didn't Pot and 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Absolutely. And if you want to know about Pot and Pock and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, come to London next week. Thank you, Eleanor, for that. And I'm going to use it as a shameless plug for Glenese's class next week, because really these classes really create space. But absolutely, Laura, it's like, what would it take for us to choose from space, to create from space, to ask from space, to question, to live in curiosity?
And I did that yesterday, and I actually got the most amazing deal, and I got the best Kindle, because I really wanted a new Kindle, and then my old Kindle lovingly broke itself for me, which meant, I know, and so, but the most amazing thing was I had this really beautiful interaction with a man who worked there, and he ended up going and getting me like the best Kindle in the shop, and I got 50 quid off it.
How does it get better than that?
And I had vouchers, and so I got another 50 quid off. In fact, so it's like this thing for 140 quid I ended up spending £39 on.
That's just so awesome. And I love hearing stories like that, because that helps me to feel spacious. Yes. So share your stories, share your questions, people, because they really contribute. And I want to thank our radio show today and the technology for being such an amazing contribution, despite the fact that it seemed a little stressful for me at times, and for Laura. It's like, it's really helped both of us and contributed to both of us kind of being in the question about what else is possible.
And actually, what if everything can be a contribution when we truly allow it to be? And actually, a radio show didn't show up today in quite the way that actually I would have chosen. But in terms of like what it's created, it's like I'm so very grateful to that. And and thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. So, gorgeous people, we will see you next week. I couldn't possibly tell you what it's about because I can't remember, but we will...
A questionable reality.
Yeah, that's a question. See you all next week then. Bye-bye.
Thank you for choosing to listen to the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alan Jones. We hope you enjoyed playing with us today and that you'll come play with us next Monday at 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 7 a.m. Pacific on A to Zen.fm. Until then, What would it take for you to enjoy playing with choices and possibilities to create more fun, more magic, and more of everything you desire?